Annabelle.
And I'm Amy, and welcome to Escape Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural and then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape supernatural purgatory. Yes, so this week I don't have anything in front of me, so I don't remember what we're doing. We are going to be talking about Croatoan.
Yes.
Croatoan. Season 2, episode 9. And I'm very shocked. I'm looking at IMDb, like I usually do at the beginning of episodes, and like they've completely changed the look of it, and I'm like, what?
Yes.
I'm so confused. I don't know what I'm looking at. This was a staple episode, I guess, because it was directed by Robert Singer, which you can tell because it's meh.
The shade. Getting right in there to start. Oh my god. Yeah, I have thoughts on that, and I'll get to them.
It was written by John Shaban,
Mm-hmm.
which, I don't know, it didn't feel like one of his episodes, and I don't really know why.
I think
Maybe it was the directing style.
Yeah, and I think it's because this was a main plot episode.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, I feel like John Shaban writes sort of one-off episodes, but they seem to have given him this plotty one, so maybe he didn't have as much space to play around in.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right on that one. Yeah, I mean, so let's see. It was given. So I don't know where I'm looking for stuff now. It was given an 8.7 on IMDb. I don't think so. So maybe because certain scenes make it that good, but overall it was just if it didn't have those scenes in it, it would have been a bit meh.
I would say the acting in this episode was epic. The storyline was weird, and the directing style was interesting.
To say the least.
Yes.
To say the least.
I don't know how I felt about this episode. I think it was an important plotty episode because it kind of touches on a lot of things that have been going on so far in this season between Sam and Dean. It was done in a good way. I don't know if I like the I don't know if I like the kind of zombie thing. I've never really been a fan of the like Croatoan stuff in this. I feel like it's almost like they're trying to force the zombie apocalypse on us.
Yeah.
You know? Because I don't feel like it's necessarily needed, because obviously we kind of know going into later episodes and later seasons that Croatoan has a place in the apocalypse. But like, did it need to?
I mean, probably not. Let's be real. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we can get into it a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. Let's do it.
So the recap was just a lot of like the psychic powers again, and a huge recap of In My Time of Dying, so the first episode of the season. It had some parts of it from Simon Said, and I forgot that they had called it like Death Visions.
I don't remember them saying that at all.
Yeah, so that's what they called them in Simon Said. Is like, which I mean, it's kind of true because every time he has them, someone's dying in them. So
that's true. How weird. Yeah, I guess that is what he's having. Wait, is Sam the Mothman? Does he appear to people before they die?
Is he the Death Omen?
Yeah. I mean, for some people, he definitely is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with every vision, though, he does seem to save the person who was supposed to die in that vision. Just other people die instead.
Yeah, it's kind of like a equal exchange deal. Like, yes, you can save someone, but they have to balance it out cosmically, so someone else has to die.
And in some cases, more than one, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we see a little bit of like Dean's coping mechanism, like telling everybody he's fine, and the shot of bloodlust, which just sends shivers down my spine every time I think about it, and him smashing up the car too.
So we know this episode is going to be demon power related, and it's going to be an angsty Dean episode. Both of those
Basically.
things are true. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the episode starts. And you can kind of tell that something's not right because of like there's a weird sort of frame rate thing. It's as if like you're trying to play like a game and like suddenly your FPS is dropped to like 24 instead of 60.
I hated it. There's a weird slow motion thing they do, and it's not just in this beginning bit. There's other bits in the episode as well where it's like weirdly jerky slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
And like, did they just need to pad out the episode? I always think that when they do stuff in slow motion, it's like, did you just need to pad out the episode for like a couple of minutes? Because it doesn't look good. It didn't look good. It didn't add to it at all.
Well, so I think it kind of it does in this instance because of the context of the what's happening, because it is so kind of it's kind of violent because what we see is Dean walking down a corridor. He checks his gun and then he walks into a room and shoots somebody. Like the guy is begging for his life and he just shoots him. So that's like super intense. Yeah. So to see that it doesn't look normal puts in your mind that okay, that maybe this isn't actually happening. But okay, the thing that kind of bugs me is they haven't shown Sam's visions like this before. Like they always change how his visions show up, but there's always been that kind of cohesion of like images overlaying each other, and then it's a sequence of events like in a normal way. And I won't say I don't want to like pin myself to this, but I feel like they don't do this again. Like they don't make it so jerky.
I hadn't seen this effect before in Supernatural. I didn't remember it in this episode because that's not the standout thing about this episode. Actually, you know, is the weird jerky movements. But I didn't like it because I think it would have been fine. I think you're right. I think it would have been fine if it was just in this vision, but it's not. It happens later when we're there in like real time, and it really took me out of the moment because I was just like, "What is it? Why are they doing this? Why?"
It really didn't add anything to what like the action that was going on the screen. It was just like, it was weird. And I was trying to. So when I was watching this, I was like trying to put my mind back to the first time I watched this episode, because like this is really shocking to see, like, because it is like. The guy is really begging for his life, and Dean is super cold-hearted and just shoots him. Like, we have no context as to what's going on. Dean's usually pretty sympathetic to humans, so there must be something, but like, there's no real, I don't know. There's no context for what's going on.
I mean, it made me like. I was thinking, when I first watched this, I probably thought that guy was possessed by a demon. That would have made the most sense in the context because he just looks like a guy that Dean's shooting. I did really appreciate there is like a really nice shot in this scene right at the end where Dean has like got his finger on the trigger and they do a really nice zoom in on his face and his like lip is quivering before he shoots the guy. Perfection.
Yes.
Like, so good. Just the hesitation and how hard that is for him. What it reminded me of is Enver's Dean. So, you know, when there's an episode where Dean is sent forward in time to the end of the apocalypse and they're all like living in a camp and he's very like hardened and badass and cold. And this Dean reminded me of that, actually.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
His face. Yeah. Which, I mean, it makes sense that it would actually. They would be kind of a similar person in this case.
And then we see, then it does that whole, like, overlapping of images, and we realize it's actually one of Sam's visions, and it does the reverse of a zoom, which I think is a pullback, a dramatic pullback.
Yeah.
Now he's, like, on this motel floor, which is disgusting. Like, just thinking about it, I'm like, I would hate to wake up on that floor. I don't. Yuck. Dean bursts in and he's eating like a churro or something. I can't remember what he's eating.
I think
he's
it's
eating
like
something.
jerky of some description.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you are right. I was just thinking, we haven't seen him eat in a scene in a long time.
That's true, actually.
And like talking with his mouth full.
Yeah. So obviously, like, yes, we know this is a vision. Dean's walked in. He's shocked to see Sam asleep on the floor, and they kind of just, that's it. There's a title card. Like, I think they maybe like stick to those names, like, as usual.
So they're just driving. It's like in the evening, and Sam's got his little Palm Pilot and it's got the GPS on it. And I was thinking, before Google Maps.
Yeah, it was super retro. I couldn't believe it. Like, he's figured out that the place they're going is called River Grove, and he's looked on the map of the US and found 2 places, and he managed to narrow it down to one of them by something he saw in the vision, like a poster or something, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he's kind of describing again the vision to Dean. Like, it's clear they've already talked about it previously, but he's describing it again, because Dean seems surprised that he would shoot somebody.
You just plugged him, and that's it.
Well, I'm sure I had a good reason.
I sure hope so.
What does that mean? I mean, I'm not gonna waste an innocent man. I wouldn't.
I never said you would.
Fine.
Fine.
Yeah. The way he says it is so like, and I ventilated him. Like, what? What?
I guess it's like, you don't want to outright say you shot somebody, so you say it in a weird way.
They do this a lot in this episode. When they come face to face with the character, that he doesn't say unless a guy shoot.
I thought about this because they do have a conversation about, like, why would I shoot the guy? And they kind of sort of saying, well, it must be related to the demon in some way. I'm sure you had a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do... This is the thing. I do understand why they're going, because it's related to the yellow-eyed demon, as most of Sam's visions generally are. And they want to find it. I don't know what their plan is, what to do when they find it, because they don't have any way of killing the demon anymore. And also, if you had a vision of someone killing someone else in a specific location, would you maybe not avoid that location to prevent it from happening?
I mean, that's a really fair point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
They could have sent other hunters to this because Sam knows specifically that Dean is going to shoot that guy. Like, so Dean's going to do it. So they very much easily, before they went, could have called up Ellen and been like, look, we have a lead on the yellow-eyed demon, but I had a vision of Dean shooting someone and it's kind of weird. So, like, maybe we should avoid that area and, like, keep us updated as to what happens. Like, that maybe would have been the smarter thing to do.
So sometimes his visions are like that day and sometimes they're like later on, right?
Yeah.
How much time do they need? Because where are they? Where did they start? Because it probably would have taken them a few days.
Yeah.
Okay, so something that one of the characters says at the very end of this episode, so I'm not going to say what it is right now, makes me believe that this is a little bit like, you know how in Harry Potter, Voldemort shows him a fake vision?
Yes, I thought the same thing.
That this wasn't actually what was going to happen. They were just showing it to him to, like, make him come to this spot.
Exactly. This is a trap, and they fell for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, this was a trap. Like, definitely, I am 100% convinced this was a trap. And what's really interesting is I think they're not making that connection at this point to, like, the visions are, and it is kind of, again, like a Voldemort situation. Like, the visions are connected to the yellow-eyed demon, so maybe it has some control over them as well. Yeah. I was just like, no, it's a trap, Don't go. Stupid to go.
So they arrive into the small town and they come across this guy just, like, putting together his fishing pole. And it turns out he was a sergeant of some kind. I don't remember exactly what his title was.
No, I can't remember.
But the fake tattoo looked like a fake tattoo. I was just like, there were a couple of things in this episode that felt very forced, and that was one of them. Like the way his arm was just like conveniently out, like just laying out with the tattoo on his forearm, and like I don't know, it just and it didn't really mean anything. Like, okay, you kind of Dean and him made a little bit of a connection.
I think maybe you know who he is, Master Sergeant. My dad was in the Corps. He was a corporal.
What company?
Echo 2-1.
So can you help us?
Do you think it was just an excuse to mention John in this episode?
Could be. Could be.
Just to bring his ghost back to loom over them for a minute.
Yeah. I guess also he was a little bit suspicious as well, because they said that they were marshals and like they're trying to find a person, which turned out to be Dwight Tanner. I don't know. I guess it was just a way to gain trust.
Yeah, so they're claiming here to be like U.S. Marshals. The names they give are Billy Gibbons and Frank Beard, who are both members of ZZ Top, which is just funny because like they don't look like members of ZZ Top.
No, not at all.
But I mean, they managed to get out of this guy the information that they want. They were looking for the younger guy in the vision that Dean shot, and he kind of reluctantly, I would say, gives them the information. They kind of have to reassure him that he's not in trouble. He's just trying to help them out with a case they have. As they're walking away to go to this guy's house, they see a telegraph pole, I think it is, with the word Croatoan sort of sketched into it, like etched into it with a knife or something.
So that was another bit that felt kind of forced. The way that Sam kind of bumped into it just was like, oh no, whack. It was like, because everybody kind of goes off balance sometimes, right?
Yeah,
like
I am very clumsy.
But I feel like in TV shows, most of the time, unless the character is made to be clumsy, they pretty much always like are, you know, being where they're supposed to be. They don't kind of fall down just randomly. Yeah. So to see him kind of like stumble for no reason, because it wasn't even like, I don't know, I feel like they could have done another thing where like you kind of twist your ankle as you step onto the curb or something. I don't know. Yeah. Instead, he just kind of like brushes past it and like looks at it as if it's I don't know. It was weird. It was definitely a weird take, and I'm not sure.
It's weird, but it is a setup, right? And it's an intentional setup as well, because he's supposed to find it.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much a plot device. I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Croatoan thing, I mean, I've heard of it before as well. I think probably not before I'd watched Supernatural, because this is way back when. But there's since been, like, American Horror Story Roanoke as well, wasn't there? Which kind of touches on this also. Yeah. And it's basically one of those mysteries where sort of a whole town just goes missing. Like, you turn up and, like, food's still on the table. Things are still looking like people are coming back to it, but they've just gone. This was one that happened in America. I think they say here it's the late 1500s. And, like, a whole town just upped and vanished. And they've never solved the mystery. There are, like, different theories, but they've never really solved it, right?
It does make me wonder, for any, like, American listeners, is Roanoke actually, like, because the way they make it sound is as if it's taught in school, but I feel like that's one of those things that you, like, if you like mysteries and, like, listen to sort of mystery podcasts and all that kind of stuff, that's when you'll hear about it rather than, like, in school.
Yeah, like, why would you learn about that in school? Some weird, like, folk legend. It's a bit odd. I mean, in this particular case, like, obviously Roanoke was the place, and then Croatoan was found, like, etched somewhere, the legend goes. But I mean, who knows if that's true either? Like, I don't know. There's some really stupid lines in this episode, and one of them was like Sam knows about Roanoke and Dean doesn't. And, like, Sam says to him, like, didn't you listen in school?
Dean, did you pay any attention to history class?
Yeah. A shot heard around the world, how bills become laws.
That's not school. That's Schoolhouse Rock.
Whatever.
And like Dean looks genuinely like upset about this. It's like, but you were making the joke yourself. Like,
Do you think he's upset that Sam got the joke, like knew that what he was referencing, rather than like, I don't know.
I think that's true. Maybe he was. All right, here's what it was: is that Sam was pulling out a reference that he didn't know, so he tried to do the same to Sam, and then Sam got it, and he was upset about it. Such a sibling thing, trying to pull them over on each other like constantly.
Definitely.
It's after they see this that they then decide to call. They say Bobby or Ellen. And this is the first time Bobby's been mentioned since episode 1, by the way. And why did they not? Again, why did they not try to phone them in the car on the way there? Why did they wait till they got there when maybe the situation was going to be like bad? There's some poor decisions made in this episode.
This whole episode was a bad decision. Again, like it's like hitting story beats rather than fluidly telling a story. Yeah. Because the reason why they try to make these phone calls is because they find out the phones aren't working. There's no signal. Yeah. And then they try a payphone, which made me think, do you know where your closest payphone is? Because I have no idea.
No idea anymore. Most of our phone boxes are no longer connected now in the UK, and people have turned them into like miniature libraries. Nice. Very cute. You know those famous red phone boxes? Yeah, really nice. Like Dean here says, like he hangs up the phone after it doesn't work, and then says, "I'll tell you one thing: if I was going to massacre a town, that would be my first step." And it's like, you're not helping your case here, Dean, that you weren't going to shoot that guy for no reason.
Yeah, like that's so specific too.
Like, why are you thinking about it?
Yeah. I guess because they break into houses all the time, so maybe like that's what they do. Yeah. Like they might cut phone line. Well, they don't. We haven't seen them do that, but
no, that would be terrifying. I hope they don't do that. Like, they're not actual I mean, they are, but they're not actual serial killers. They are, but they're not.
they're just career criminals.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess they just kind of decide that, okay, well, the phone's not working, but we'll still go check out Dwight Tanner's house. The things they choose to focus on in this episode is kind of weird. Like the little sign that's outside like in their porch says "Born to fish, forced to work." I was like, what? Maybe it's kind of giving like a context of like this is like a fishing town or something. Yeah. And it turns out that it's Tanner's brother who opens the door, and he's acting kind of. I don't feel like he's necessarily being suspicious, but he is a little bit like dodging the questions a little bit.
I thought he was just trying to cover for his brother to start with. Yeah. And I think that's what we're supposed to think, to be fair. And until his dad comes to the door, and then I think it gets suspicious.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it's funny here that they refer to it as like Stepford family, and it's really creepy. And I was like, well, only they would think that Stepford is. I mean, it is creepy, but like, yeah, I guess if it was, no, never mind.
No, I think you're right though. I think Dean specifically would find that kind of like jolly family dynamic kind of a little bit forced, right? Which is the kind of Stepford vibe without the mind control. Yeah.
So they don't let it go. They go around the back of the house, and it's a good thing that you know, criminals torture people in the open. Apparently. Because the mother is tied up, and like we see that she's got like a cut on her arm, and then her son like cuts her hand and drips blood on the wound, which is gross. Yeah. I was like, oh. They enter the house, shoot the dad. And then the son, I don't think I took down his name. Anyway, the son jumps through a window. But the way that it's done will always, like, because it's shown from him on the inside and then
Yeah.
on the outside.
Yeah.
That sequence will always be the French mistake to me.
Yeah, people go into a window, like, you just can't unsee it ever again on any TV show. I agree. So, I mean, I guess they help the mum, right? I think her name's Beverly.
So, but did you see the looks Dean gives Sam when he doesn't shoot the kid? It was... If the shot continued and it didn't go to an ad break, he would have totally, like, smacked him at the back of the head for not shooting the kid.
Yeah. But the thing is, I know they went in and shot the dad because they obviously had seen this through the window, what they were doing. And I guess it does seem kind of supernatural, this weird, like, blood exchange. Mm-hmm. But they don't know that he's not just a person. See, this is why I wonder, like, this is a very witchy thing, right? Witches are generally just people. I know they've, like, sold their soul in some way for power, but it doesn't sit quite right. Because I think he just went in and, like, shot him immediately. They didn't ask any questions or tell him to stop. It was, yeah. And, yeah, I guess it's quite shocking. I'm not surprised that Sam hesitates. And it is kind of setting it up for the scene later, right? For Dean confronting the vision. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I guess this is the second person, then, that Dean's killed? We're counting Tom the demon and this guy.
Yeah. Like, he knew that something was up because the dad was also covering for the son, so... They don't know what it is. This is definitely Dean's mindset of, like... Well, I don't know what it is, but it's definitely monstrous, so I just gotta shoot it. Whereas Sam even says, I think, he was just a kid.
From there, they must know that it's not demons, though, because the dad just, like, dies. Mm-hmm. And if it was a demon, they would have either seen it smoke out or get back up again.
Mm-hmm. We come back to a new scene, and it's them taking the mum into a doctor's office, which I guess they saw earlier. Do you think GPS still works? Even if phones don't work?
Yes, I think it's on a different system. I think so, because it's dependent on satellites rather than
that's true.
Phone lines. So, yes.
Because I was just thinking maybe they, like, looked it up.
The medical centre was right opposite where they met the Master Sergeant guy. It was behind them in that scene.
Oh, okay.
So I guess they probably would have seen it on their way through. I think it's a very small town. Yeah,
it looks like it. And then we see the doctor from Sam's vision. And Dean just carries in a body. It's like super casual.
Plops it down.
That whole exchange is just so funny. Like he is so casual about having a dead body, like just carrying a dead body.
Is that
Mr. Tanner?
was he attacked too?
No, actually, he did the attacking and then he got himself shot.
Shot?
Yeah.
And who are you?
U.S. Marshal. I'd show you my badge, but,
Oh, sorry. Bring him back here.
It's the whole Sam thing from The Usual Suspects, where it's like, something's bothering me. No, not that.
Yeah.
Like, it's that vibe. Like, yeah, this is fine. This is normal. Don't worry about it. I think they're still claiming to be U.S. Marshals here as well. Mm-hmm. And they just burst into this doctor's office with a wounded woman and a dead body. Like, hi, what's up?
The doctor says, like, why didn't you call anybody? She says, well, the phones are down. So I guess that kind of covers them as to why they're, bringing these people in rather than calling it in. The wife is getting fixed up.
Beverly, you have any idea why they would act this way? Any history of chemical dependency? No, of course not. I don't know why. One minute, they were my husband and my son. And the next, they had the devil in them.
Right you are. Right you are.
Yeah, and, like, Sam and Dean kind of, like, look at each other when she says that as well. Like, they glance at each other, give each other a little look, like, the devil, eh? Ooh, the devil.
The devil.
Something spooky's going on.
Spooky. Which I guess confirms their theory that something is, causing this madness, as it were.
Yeah. They're talking here about what it could be. So, like, they're saying, is it possession? But they do kind of say what we pointed out as well, that they didn't see any black smoke, not any of the usual signs of demon possession. I think Dean says something turned him into a monster, which is quite an interesting way to put that. So you're right, that's his mindset in this, that they're being turned into monsters. So I guess shooting him was okay because he'd been turned in some way. Mm-hmm. This is where they have an exchange about Sam not shooting that kid. Like, Dean really lays in on him.
Hey, you know, if you would have taken out the other one, you one less to worry about.
Sorry, all right? I hesitated, Dean. It was a kid.
No, it wasn't it. It's not the best time for a bleeding heart, Sam.
It's very harsh here. It's really... Like, I didn't like the tone shift from, like, the last episode, actually.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like a downward turn. Though it's kind of interesting because the kid getting away actually helps a little bit later on too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if it was 100% justified that Dean got so angry at him.
Dean is acting a lot like John in this episode.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And this is one of those moments where I was like, this could be John saying this to either of them. Like, why did you hesitate? You let it get away. Like, it's not good enough. And I don't know whether it's because it's maybe it's the weight of the vision, knowing that he's like gonna kill someone later on that maybe doesn't deserve it. Like, that's stressing him out to the point that he's acting like John. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
They get the doctor involved though. They're kind of saying like, we need to get all these people involved. Like, there's a dead guy, and like again, nothing's working. No, the radios aren't working either now. Which they really should be also, I feel, because they use a different form of communication. So it's almost like they've put like a kind of dome or something over this town that no communications can then get in and out. And Dean asks how far it is to the next town. And I thought, she said 40 miles down to Sidewinder. And I thought she meant it's down a Sidewinder, like down a really wiggly
Yeah,
path.
me too. Me too. But apparently that's actually the town name. So Dean leaves to go to this next town, or this town over. And he comes across like a car that's all shot up. And I was like, why was there a kid's car seat? I felt really weird about that. I didn't like that.
No.
Because it's like, the whole car is just like covered in blood and just like, this is not something I want to think about. Like, they don't really, like, whenever children are involved, they usually survive.
Yeah.
In Supernatural. So it was kind of weird to see this.
It was just for shock factor, I think. You're right. And I didn't like it either. I mean, Dean picks up a knife here. Now, I didn't remember completely how the virus transmits in this. And I was like, why is he picking up a bloody knife? And I was concerned for a second, but it's fine. We never see that knife again, so it's all good.
Yeah. Do you think he kept it or just like picked it up and looked at it? Because we don't really see what he does with it.
I think he's touched it, so he probably should have taken it with him.
This is true.
Like, we just disturbed a crime scene and touched the murder weapon. Like, Dean, come on. You were arrested 2 episodes ago for murder. Like, you don't need this.
This is true. This is very true. They have your fingerprints. Like,
yeah,
what
don't
for?
leave them bloody on a knife on the side of the road. Come on, man.
And then so we're back at the medical center and the doctor's like looking at the dad's blood and she's like, oh, I don't know what kind of disease would make somebody go crazy. And I was thinking, rabies? Rabies does that.
Rabies does that. Okay, all right. Look. Your girl's a scientist. First of all, yes, you can see blood down a microscope. It doesn't look like that. Was she... It kind of... I just can't with this. It kind of shows a close-up of the blood and there's like these yellow bits floating in it. And I think she says that it looks like his body's fighting off a viral infection and that there's sulfur in his blood. And was the yellow bit supposed to be sulfur?
I think so.
That's a lot of sulfur to have in your blood. Like, you would cut someone open and they would smell eggy. Like...
That's so gross.
It can happen like that. It's very rare, but like it can happen with certain things, and you can get sulfur binding. It kind of just causes a type of anemia because then you aren't carrying as much oxygen around your body. But I just thought it was really, I love when they try to do science in TV shows. It's
when it's not a scientific show.
The best thing about it is sometimes I will recognize equipment and know exactly what it is and think, why do you have that in that lab? Like, what? You would never use that equipment. You bought that because it looked cool.
That's amazing.
All the unlabeled stuff. No. Oh, okay, one more thing. Most chemicals just do look like water. None of these fancy, like, colourful liquids. Some of them are. Also, I can't remember in this if she was wearing gloves, and that was ick. I think she does put on gloves a little bit later, but I don't know if she was when she's looking down the microscope. Considering she thinks it might be like a virus. Why is she doing it out in the open? Okay, ran over.
This is true. From this past like year and a half, we all know that like you should be probably wearing a mask if you think it's virus related.
There were some things they should have done here. So she's talking about it being carried in the blood like some kind of virus. So like the first thing they could have done is like put gloves on everybody. Nobody wears gloves in this episode at all. Everyone else they're all wearing long sleeved like outfits. Why did no one just put on some gloves? They could have duct taped those gloves to their sleeves to help that bit. Like masks. I just feel like they had a doctor. They had an opportunity here to like control the spread of this apparently blood-borne virus, which okay, and then just didn't do any of the things it should have done to stop it.
She's also a GP. She's not a virologist, right? That's what they're called, the people who study viruses?
Yeah, correct.
I'm just trying to think, would a GP recognize what sulfur would look like? Is it that obvious? Like,
no, there's no way. First of all, you wouldn't be able to see it under the microscope. Right. As like floating particles. I mean, I'm not sure. I think it's so rare. I'm not sure. Like, I've never actually really. I hadn't heard of it until I did a little bit of like. I googled it for this podcast. I don't know. Maybe if it would change the color of your blood slightly, possibly. I don't know. Someone who's a hematologist, please tell me. Would sulfur change the color of your blood if it binds instead of the like? I don't know. So there's no way. She might have been able to tell his white blood cell count was up. Again, not from looking at it under a microscope. I'm probably getting this all wrong now and showing like how bad I am at science.
It's alright, nobody will call you out on it, it's fine.
Do it. Come on. Tell me. I'm always ready to learn. Yeah, so they say sulfur, which is obviously automatically for us related to demons. So fine. Fine.
I've never heard of one that did this to the blood.
Did what?
There's this weird residue. If I didn't know better, I'd say it was sulfur.
We are back with Dean, and he comes up on a roadblock. All of the people there have rifles, just all of them.
Yeah.
And this is where he sees the younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows that these people are not good people. I mean, it already looks a little bit suspicious that just like they're not official, like authority of any kind. They're just like townsfolk who've just blocked off the road and have rifles. Like, pretty sure that's not. And also, he's already seen the car that's being shot up and stuff. So he's probably like putting two and two together and just having that extra person like being recognized. And then there was that jump scare, which didn't get me this time, so I'm happy.
I didn't even notice a jump scare. That's how much it didn't get me.
Just a guy, and he's acting a little bit suspicious. He asks, "Well, how do you know he's being quarantined?" He says the sheriff called. Well, we know that can't be true because the phones haven't been working all day.
Yes.
Dean's obviously more suspicious, and then the guy asks,
Say, why don't you get out of the car and we'll talk a little? Oh, you are a handsome devil, but I don't swing that way, sorry.
I'd sure appreciate it if you got out of the car just for a quick minute.
Yeah, I bet you would.
so it's just another devil joke.
It is, yeah, it is. They just wanted to make that handsome devil joke, and I guess.
I think he's also trying to like be a little bit off-putting because obviously like these are hunters and like manly men, and like I think having another man like flirt with you might be like let me not deal with that.
I guess so. I agree. I think he was looking for a reaction. You know, if he had made, I guess it's a joke. Like if he'd made that comment, and then they probably would have laughed it off, like ah ha ha ha. But the guy doesn't. He's like more serious. Like I appreciate if you get out of the car. So I think it kind of shows that they're not quite acting how Dean would expect them to act in that situation.
And then he does some fancy driving.
I love this.
And speeds away.
The guys I saw in his car, and it's an interesting stunt. I don't know if it was done particularly well, but it was okay. I like the guy driving, like hanging onto his car as he drives off and like getting thrown away. Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, like wouldn't you also grab for the steering wheel?
Maybe he just kind of holds on, like skating along for a little bit. Doesn't really try to do anything.
They do some really subtle things with the music in this. I don't know if you noticed, but there's like, as the soundtrack's going, there's sirens in the soundtrack.
Oh, no, I didn't notice that. That's really nice.
So it added like a nice bit of tension to what was going on. So we're back again in the medical center. Like Beverly's there,
but like she's already infected, and so she's asking all these questions like, oh, do you think I might have it? And then she attacks them, and it's like, oh, she had it all along. Great.
Yeah. Sam knocks her out with an O2 tank, which I thought was pretty funny. Like he hit, like I'm surprised it didn't kill her because he hits her like on the neck.
Oh, ow, no.
Yeah, like isn't that gonna do something? Like can't that could be pretty bad, right?
I guess he was trying to incapacitate her without killing her, and I guess you have to hit someone pretty hard, so take the risk. But
yeah, I guess so.
Again, Sam trying not to kill people here.
Yeah.
He could have just shot her.
That's true. Which is, I guess he thinks there might be a cure. That's why he doesn't want to kill her. Which is fair, but like.
Well, I guess if it is demonic, they know how to exorcise people, so she could be a good guinea pig as well for that. If they've got someone they know infected, knocked out. But I mean, yeah, Sam is always trying to save people. In this episode, a lot actually.
Definitely. So we're back with Dean, and he's driving back into town, and he sees the sergeant from earlier. Their little yelling match is just so funny.
Put it down! Lower it now! Put it down! Are you one of them? No, are you? No! You could be lying! So can you! All right. We can do this all day, all right? Let's take it easy before we kill each other.
What's going on with everybody?
I don't know.
My neighbor, Mr. Rogers.
You got a neighbor named Mr. Rogers?
Not anymore.
It's like super childish, but it's like it's still hilarious.
It's good, yeah. Such a good line. Like, oh, I liked the Master Sergeant. Like, I thought he was a really good addition to this. Because they could have done it. They could have practically done this whole episode without him. But I feel like he was a good addition to the episode.
He seems like he could have been a really good ally. Brought him into the fold of hunters. Because I feel like a lot of the hunters have like a military background. And
like, yeah, I say like Dean's already vibing with him on a like personal level because he's talked to him about John, etc. Yeah, it's good. I think it could have been used a bit more in this episode as well, like actually helping them against the Croat. They don't really fight anybody.
Yeah. No, they don't. And then the Master Sergeant gets in the car, and they're both pointing guns at each other.
Well, this ought to be a relaxing drive.
Again, we're back at the medical office, and the nurse starts to panic. Like, she's saying that she needs to get out to find her boyfriend, and Sam's trying to console her, and Dean and the sergeant come through the door.
I really liked this because Sam's like, wait, help is coming, and then you hear the Impala.
Look, I know you're upset, all right? But it's safer if you stay here for now. Help is coming. There they are.
Oh, I love that. Like, the Impala is the help. I mean, it's not really, but...
Well, they got an extra set of hands.
That's true, yeah.
And then they start to theorize a bit more.
It's like a biblical plague.
Yeah. You don't know how right you are, Dean. I've been pouring through Dad's journal. Found something about the Roanoke colony.
And?
Dad always had a theory about Croatoan. He thought it was a demon's name, sometimes known as Deaver, sometimes Reshef, a demon of plague and pestilence.
Well, that's terrific. Why here? Why now?
And he said that he looked in John's journal and said this is where they bring out the Croatoan legend in Roanoke. He says that Croatoan could be the name of a demon.
Yeah.
Also known as pestilence as well, which got me thinking about when the 4 horsemen come, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I love the way that they introduced each of the horsemen of the apocalypse. Was amazing.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
I can't wait. I love that kind of. I love me a biblical apocalypse, and they did this one well, I feel.
Mm. So Beverly is confirmed to be infected, and Dean goes in there and basically pleads for her, she's pleading for her life, and he just triple taps her, which I was like, holy mackerel.
I wonder if the demon has to use real events to build together a fake vision, right? And this was the real event they used to template onto Dean shooting the other kid. Because it's quite similar.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe you're right. I was also thinking maybe it's to show the ruthlessness of Dean in this, in regards to what happens towards the end of this episode.
It is different to the vision though, because before Dean shoots her, he turns to Sam and says, "Are you sure?" And Sam nods at him. So it's Sam is also condoning that kill, right? So
True.
It seems a bit more justified, I guess, to Dean, because Sam wouldn't kill an innocent person. He knows and he trusts him to tell him right from wrong sometimes, and this is one of those cases.
With that being said, though, what you said earlier it sort of stuck in my mind a little bit. They didn't even try to exorcise her.
Yeah, that's true. Even though they know it's demonic, you think they would try. But they have her trapped, so they could have tried a devil's trap to see if that would hold her. They could have tried holy water. The parlor's right outside.
They could have done Christo.
Yeah. They never use that again, Annabelle. You know they don't.
I know they don't, but I'm just saying.
Does feel weird. I think this is what's wrong with this episode. That they're very much shoot first, ask questions later, in a way that they haven't been so far. Mm-hmm. This does happen later. I feel in later seasons, they are more like this, where they do that kind of shoot first stuff. Mm-hmm. But here, they were always way more careful about who they're shooting, especially after the events of Bloodlust. Do you think that would have stuck in a bit more? And they could have tried some things before just shooting these people.
So that they know that it's blood-to-blood contact, right?
Yeah.
Keep anything sharp from her. Put bags on her hand or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There definitely could have been more ways to do this, but they just kill her. That's the only solution. Yeah, it doesn't make. I think that was that didn't sit right with me for this whole entire episode. Just the quickness to kill people just doesn't feel quite like a supernatural episode.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously the parallel here is zombies. I think they've just done it differently. Instead of having them bite people, they attack them instead. It's a similar kind of thing though. And I guess they're intelligent as well, because they just act like people until they don't. So yeah, it's definitely a zombie parallel, and that's what happens in zombie movies all the time, right? You find someone that's infected and then they shoot them, and that's just how it is. But it's different. They wrote it differently. It should have taken a bit more consideration, I feel. Especially, I'm going up on one now, especially because we know the Croatoan virus comes up again and again later on towards the end of the apocalypse arc. I think they could have paid it a bit more mind and have a bit more of an internal struggle about killing the people who are infected with it.
Yeah.
Because I don't
definitely.
think they ever do. I think they always treat them like zombies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we've already had a zombie episode.
Yeah, we have. I feel like they should have leaned into it more than they did in the actual zombie episode. But it's fine. I don't know. It is a bit odd here. After this, we come back and it's nighttime now. There are sort of a few people gathered outside the medical clinic, but like they don't really make any move to attack them at all. Like again, sort of zombie style. They're just sort of milling around, and they're kind of getting ready to have a fight. Like they're checking their weapons. The nurse drops a vial of blood typically and like screams, "Oh no!" Oh no! So they do make a reference here to zombies.
She's right about one thing. We can't stay here. We gotta get out of here, get to the roadhouse, somewhere. Let people know what's coming.
Yeah, that's a good point. Night of the Living Dead didn't exactly end pretty.
I'm not sure we got a choice. Lots of folks up here are good with rifles. Even with all your hardware, we're easy targets. So unless you got some explosives.
I guess they think this is the start of something big, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are equating this to zombies and the beginning of a zombie apocalypse, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So were they thinking at this point that this was just literally going to spread out of control? Okay. Going off the rails a little bit. Do you think they have a zombie apocalypse plan? Sam and Dean, personally? Do you think they've been talking about this in the car?
I think Dean does.
Yeah.
Definitely Dean does. Sam, not so much. I think Sam will just like listen to Dean's plan, but not really take it too seriously and just be like, what are you talking about? Like, you're an idiot. Like, you watch too many movies kind of response.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in like season 2. Season 1, I don't think they would have spoken about it. I think they were too obsessed with John to be talking about like zombie apocalypse like scenarios.
I don't know. I reckon Dean's had a zombie apocalypse plan since he first watched Night of the Living Dead. Like
Probably. Then so the sergeant's like, well, we don't have enough firepower. Like everybody here is hunters and they have weapons, and we're never gonna get past them to get like out of town.
Yeah.
And then Sam spots like, was it potassium something? I can't remember.
Potassium chloride.
So that he's like, well, we can make explosives.
Yeah. But like potassium chloride solution isn't like, it's not flammable or explosive, so I don't know why they would have chosen.
Yeah. But I'm sure there's other things in a doctor's office that besides like alcohol that could be. So I don't know.
Yeah, I like you said, I think if they, maybe it's just like the idea of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's chemical here, so we could use those. Because obviously definitely like alcohol would be flammable and they could make Molotov cocktails, which they do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay, fine, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And as they're forming this plan, Dwight Tanner actually arrives. And he's like banging on the door. Now, why would you let him in? It's nighttime, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've seen that most of the town is now infected.
Yeah.
So you would assume that he is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you definitely would.
And he tells his story of like where he's been once he's inside. Like, wouldn't you ask him all those questions? Because he's not being followed either, which again is another suspicious thing. And then you see a cut on his leg. I'm like, all of that, like, this is no. I mean, they do tie him to a chair.
I mean, it's the master sergeant who lets him in, so I guess he knows the kid, so it would be hard to turn away someone that you knew personally. So, fine, maybe, but yeah, look, come on, zombie survival, people. Don't let people in. It never ends well. It never ends
It doesn't.
well.
It never ends well. We all know this. Dean knows this.
Yeah.
He knows this. Anyway, but the doctor is some kind of genius because she says she's studied the blood forwards and backwards and knows that it takes 3 hours for the virus to basically incubate.
Okay, fine.
So you could see.
She wouldn't know that. There's no way. No way. But fine.
No. Yeah. I mean, I guess she's a genius. She's a plot device.
They should have had her working on COVID.
Right? Okay. I will make a comment about the Doctor at the end.
Okay.
Remind me.
Okay.
And so Sam basically begs for Dean not to kill him.
Hey, look, man, I'm not happy about this, okay? But it's a tough job, and you know that.
It's supposed to be tough, Dean. We're supposed to struggle with this. That's the whole point.
What does that buy us?
A clear conscience, for one.
Oh, it's too late for that.
What the hell's happened to you?
What?
You might kill an innocent man, and you don't even care. You don't act like yourself anymore, Dean. Hell, you know what? You're acting like one of those things out there. Hey! Hey! Open the damn door. Dean!
He even tells him, like, this is the vision. This is the vision. Don't do it. You're just fulfilling the prophecy.
Basically. Yeah, Sam says something, you might kill an innocent man. You're actually more like one of those things out there. Which... manipulation much?
I think this conversation's really interesting when they're arguing about whether or not to shoot this guy. Because Sam says... kind of what we've been saying is not happening in this episode, because Sam says it's supposed to be tough. We're supposed to be struggling with this. And I just feel like, yes, you're right, Sam, but you haven't really been.
No.
Like, Sam has a little bit. Like, he's been trying not to kill people, but there was no real there didn't seem to be a moral conundrum about shooting that lady.
No.
Fine, okay.
So the only difference between the two is that it's not confirmed that Dwight has been infected, and there's no way to tell.
I was quite shocked by the end of this, because like you know, when Sam does say to him, like, you're acting like one of those things out there, Dean like pushes past him, like Sam tries to stop him, then he full on like pushes him against the wall and locks him in.
Yeah. What was he trying to accomplish?
I guess he was absolving Sam of any responsibility for this guy's life, because he was taking it all on himself. So if he did have to shoot the guy, Sam could have a clear conscience, because he tried to stop him, was overpowered and locked in a room, so he couldn't have stopped Dean in any way. So I think he's trying to protect Sam from the responsibility.
Yeah, you're probably right. God damn it, Dean. Anyway, so we see the sequence that was in the beginning of the episode over again. This is when I noticed all of the like dramatic zooms, and I realized it's Robert Singer who likes to do these zooms.
Yeah, it's the Singer zoom. Like, it's...
And I'm wondering if some of the times he was on set, basically, and like as a producer was like, more zooms.
I hope so. I wonder if he was responsible for the epic Crowley zoom, my favourite zoom of the whole series. The best zoom. I need to find out now whether he directed that episode, because if he did one thing right, it was that zoom on Crowley's face.
Definitely. I feel like I don't remember what was said in that episode, not said in that first sequence, but Dean here says, I have no choice. And when he said that, I was like, no, team free will.
You do have a choice. Oh my gosh. Is this first instance of Dean breaking out of the narrative?
Yes, I think so.
But if it was a trap, maybe it was never going to happen anyway. Oh, see, my brain wants both things to be true. I want it to be predestined, so this was Dean breaking from the narrative for the first kind of time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it is quite good if it was a trap, which probably is the truth here.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. Well, something to think about for sure. Because he doesn't kill him.
He doesn't kill him. It does show, though, how they do fight against, I want to say destiny. I don't really want to use that word, but I can't think of another word to use. That they are kind of willing to fight against destiny and not just go along with it.
But do you think that was him not shooting him was because of what Sam said, or because of Sam's vision? because Sam's vision is linked to Yellow Eyes, so I'm sure Dean doesn't want to do anything that a demon tells him to do, right?
Yeah. I don't think Dean trusts the visions. I don't think he ever has trusted the visions to be from a good source because they are demon related. So I think Sam telling him about it has put doubt in his mind that that's the right thing to do, even though it probably feels like it is in the moment because he's pretty sure he's infected. Yeah, it's a tough one. I think it's a few things. I think what Sam said to him probably did get to him, like how he's acting. The fact that he had to like physically overpower Sam to try and shoot this guy. Maybe he's taking a long look at himself. For a moment.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's a few things going on here, but I ultimately think as well. Yeah, he definitely doesn't trust those visions.
Yeah, because I mean, Sam blatantly asks him why he didn't shoot, and Dean doesn't give an answer.
No.
You know I'm gonna ask you why.
Yeah, I know.
So why? Why didn't you do it?
We need more alcohol.
Now, this was obviously a script choice,
Yeah.
because I don't think they knew.
Yeah. Dean's too complex, sometimes too right for.
Yeah.
Is that what's happened? So
Exactly.
they couldn't give him a line.
Yeah.
No.
So Sam asks him this question while they're like making their Molotov cocktails. And Sam notes that he needs to get more alcohol and goes into like the dispensary. And the nurse like follows him in, and she's like, "I've been waiting for this all night." And I was like, "Oh, have you now?" And the nurse attacks Sam.
Yeah.
And this is the other time that they use that stupid slow-mo jerky frame rate thing.
I hated it.
And it's so weird because the visual of like this little blonde woman taking down Sam is hilarious.
I know.
Which, like, and then you add this stupid effect over the top and just like, what am I watching?
I've just realised what it made me think of, because I said about padding out an episode. This is an obscure reference. I don't know if anyone's going to get it, but if anyone's ever watched Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, it's like a spoof. It's funny actually, because okay. How am I going to explain this? What this is? Hang on. It's like a spoof TV show. So it's a guy telling like his glory days of when he played a doctor who worked in a supernatural hospital, and like it shows them making the TV show. And one of the episodes, they shoot a load of slow motion sequences because they said that they wrote the episode, they filmed it and found out they needed to pad out another 10 minutes. So they went back and shot everything in like slow motion that they possibly could do. And that's what this made me think of. If you've never watched Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, like it's super weird. I can't
I'm gonna have to try and find it. It sounds like a good time, to be honest.
Richard Ayodean
Nice.
from the IT crowd, and Matt Berry in as well, also from the IT crowd. It's excellent. It's so out there, honestly.
Sounds like a good time. Sounds like a good time. And so the nurse cuts her hand and cuts Sam's chest and like puts her hand to his chest, exchanging blood so he would be infected. But Sam's like pathetic arm put out like, "Help me up." I was just like, what is this? And he puts out like his injured hand too. But the sergeant like stops him from helping him up. And they get into like this massive argument with him, Dwight, and the sergeant.
And like, and to say is like Dean did shoot that nurse also to
Yes.
get Sam up. So adding to his body count for this episode.
I know, it's getting up there, isn't it? And then he threatens to shoot Tanner again.
Nobody is shooting my brother. He's not gonna be your brother much longer. You said it yourself. Nobody's shooting anyone. You are gonna shoot me. You don't shut your pie hole, I still might.
Dean, they're right.
So the way he really commands the room at this point.
Yeah.
Because he threatens everybody. And it's terrifying. Like, even the sergeant backs down.
Yeah. And that's like a tough dude. Like,
yeah.
He's physically bigger than Dean also. he definitely could take Dean in a fight, but I guess it's the intensity of his anger. It's just this guy's crazy, maybe.
Yeah.
Look, I understand he's your brother, and I'm sorry, I am. I gotta take care of this.
I'm gonna say this one time. You make a move on him, you'll be dead before you hit the ground. You understand me? I mean, do I make myself clear?
Dang, and what are we supposed to do?
They're having this argument about to shoot him. And again, it's very similar to every single argument you've ever had when someone's been bitten by a zombie in a movie, you know. I think Sam even says, like, give me a gun and I'll do it myself, which was shocking to hear from Sam, to be honest. You know, they're saying, like, you know, it's fine, like, we've got to take care of this, like, you don't need to be involved, to Dean. And finally, Dean says, look, I'm going to say this one time. You make a move on him, you'll be dead before you hit the floor. Do I make myself clear? And then he hands the Impala keys to the Master Sergeant. Yeah. And I couldn't believe that. That's when I knew, like, it was serious, because he handed his car keys.
Get the hell out of here, that's what. Take my car. You got the explosives, there's an arsenal in there. You two go with him. You got enough firepower to handle anything now.
What about you? Dean, no. Go with them. This is your only chance.
You're not gonna get rid of me that easy.
And I feel like you don't get that impact if you haven't watched it before.
Yeah.
At this point, we don't, like, we know that Dean loves his car, but you don't know how much yet.
Yeah,
So
not really.
that's such a big deal that he hands the keys over.
I couldn't believe it. Like, it's like, I can't think of an equivalent thing I could hand to somebody, like, as much meaning as that car has to Dean. It's like handing someone your child and being like, get out of here with my kid. That's how like...
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. It definitely is.
So, yeah, it was... Okay, so that's when I knew Dean had, like, given up in this episode, though.
Yeah.
Hurt me. There was a weird exchange here, which I thought was interesting. It's like, as they leave, I think the doctor says, like, thank you for everything, Marshals. And Dean decides to tell her that they're not Marshals. Which was a move. Like, I don't... Do you think, again, this is going with the, like, handing over the keys, like, this is it kind of thing? Might as well go out telling the truth.
Yes, and also, more than likely, they're going to go through the car and they're going to see what's in the trunk.
I forgot about that.
So
I think he does say there's an arsenal in there, referring to the car. I didn't quite make that connection. Like, yeah, you're right.
So, because they're also going to, like, probably open up the glove compartment, and that's where they've kept all these, like, fake IDs and stuff. So, yeah, I think
That's a good point.
it was more of a cover than anything. It's weird that they didn't give them, like, a number to call. Like, they didn't say, like, you know, call Bobby to let him know that we're here kind of thing.
I guess they don't know how quickly this thing spread, like how much would giving a phone number help. But yeah, you're right, they probably should have given them some contact details.
Because there's obviously, like, a ritual for hunters when they die, because that's what they did with John, right? So, I don't know, I feel like they would, because nobody knows where they went.
Yeah. This is, maybe they did, maybe in the dividing time, because their plan was, before all this, was to go to the roadhouse. So maybe there's some missing time conversations there where they explained to those people where they were going to try and go. I mean, I would hope so. That would make sense.
Hopefully. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And then this freaking scene, I was so mad. We'll go through it, and then I'll tell you why it made me mad.
Yeah. So it starts with Sam saying, "This is the dumbest thing you've ever done." And of course, Dean being Dean, he can't take it serious. Like, he won't take it seriously, and makes a joke about a woman that he slept with. I also wrote here, it gets worse because it's not the dumbest thing that Dean has ever done or will ever do.
That's so true. It's not the dumbest thing he's ever done. Oh my god. It's up. This was up there with the dumb thing, though. I feel
No.
top 10 most dumb Dean moments. I don't want to say dumb. I want to say
Questionable
questionable moments. Yeah, questionable decisions. That's true.
Sorry, went on a horrible tangent just because I hate this conversation, so I'm just like I have to pick up something else.
Yeah.
And then Sam says, "You can keep going."
Dean, I'm sick. It's over for me. It doesn't have to be for you.
No.
No, you can keep going.
Who says I want to?
I want to hurl something. I want to throw something at something else, and I want it to smash. Like,
This, I hate this because of where, like, it feels like the next 13 years means nothing.
yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, okay. So, I mean, this conversation goes on, and I think I need to go through the whole thing before we can get, like, truly mad. Because, Dean, like, sits down, he takes his gun out, and he says to Sam,
I'm tired, Sam. I'm tired of this job. This life. This weight on my shoulders, man, I'm tired of it.
So what? So you're just gonna give up? I mean, you're just gonna lay down and die? Look, Dean, I know this stuff with Dad.
You're wrong. It's not about Dad. I mean, part of it is, sure.
What is it about?
he says, like, you know, I know this is to do with Dad, you know, because John has died. I think Sam thinks this is related to how Dean's feeling about that, you know, John sacrificing his life for him, essentially.
Right.
And then Dean says, no, it's not. And I was like, you don't know what it's about, because Sam says, what is it? And they hear a noise and they get interrupted. But I just need to talk about this because we're into season 2 and Dean is saying that he's tired of hunting. Outright saying it.
Yeah.
And they go through so much in the next, like, 13 years, and you understand why he stayed a hunter for that time, right? Because it's the domino effect. All the things that are happening now, like, domino on and on and on, and, like, things keep happening, and they have to keep averting apocalypses, and stuff keeps going on.
Mm-hmm.
But then they win, so why would he go back to hunting? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense with the source material. Like,
and like, so the thing that like sort of brought my attention to this is he's killed 3 people in this episode so far, which is more than what he usually does. He's had to deal with death like on a daily basis, and not just like people dying, but actually killing things.
Yeah.
Which will take a toll. Completely take a toll on you.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think Dean's ever relaxed.
No.
Like, Sam, well, I'll get to this because there's another conversation at the end of the episode. But also with this, did you hear the theme?
Yes,
it was
I
there.
did. I did, and I hated it. I did, and I hated it. They played Dean's theme over this conversation. I mean, Dean's theme, John's theme. I still think of it in that terms that he gave that musical cue to Dean.
Yeah.
And this is look, the music drives me crazy because I don't know if they ever intended it to be this way, but this is literally like, like I said, the ghost of John Winchester haunting Dean here, and then his like musical theme is playing. He's in the room, like you can feel his presence like looming over this whole conversation. Because you're right, it's not just like it's not just about John sacrificing himself for Dean. It's the burden that he put on him to do with Sam and like what he's expected to do in that situation. But I think it's just also generally having to be in that position full stop. Like,
Yeah.
having to even deal with anything supernatural is, I think, is what he's tired of at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it just keeps happening. Like, all right, I'm going to say one more thing on this, because this is going to turn into a finale rant that I don't want really to happen, because I feel like it's kind of been rehashed over and over again. But I have seen people say that they liked the ending because Dean was always supposed to go out like this. And they point back to season 1 and season 2 as evidence for this.
Right.
But when you go back and you watch it, what you see is like both of them. I mean, Sam here is like, he's quite into the life at this point. Dean does not want to be here. Like, he doesn't want to be dealing with these situations. He wants to go out hunting and live a normal life, you know, without having to deal with ghosts and stuff. Like, him dying while hunting is the most tragic ending possible for his character. It's not his good ending.
Nope.
They purposely picked the most tragic ending based on these conversations that they have in these seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that feeling of him going out while hunting might have made sense in the middle, like season 9, maybe season 10. But as it started to come to its end, it wasn't making sense anymore. No. He'd grown past that.
I completely agree.
And it, like I said before all of this, it feels like the next 13 years of this show didn't need to happen. Like, it could have gone from this to the end, and you're being like, oh yeah, that's Dean. It's like, no, that's not, though.
It's just really frustrating for someone who's invested in this show. Like, who cares? I hate this show. I love it. Like, I love it. I care about this show. I'm invested in it. We followed it for like over a flipping decade. Like, and it's really upsetting that you could watch the first episode and you could watch the last episode and go, oh yeah, there was no character development there. Like, what?
Yeah.
And there'll be other rants, but this conversation, it just makes it clearer and clearer that even if they and what's worse, I'm sorry, this is going on and on and on. What's worse is that there's all this speculation about them having to rewrite the ending, etc. I'm starting to come to terms with the fact that they always wanted to end the show this way.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the worst thing. Just like it's the worst that they would sit down and think that it was a good idea, and I can't anymore with it.
I know. What were they actually thinking? Because in no reality is this the good ending. Even if they wanted to do like the whole Roadhouse thing in heaven, that still doesn't make sense.
No,
it still doesn't make sense. And I think it's evident. I know that this was an actor choice, not a directorial choice or a costume choice. I think it's evident how they as in the actors felt by putting on the clothes that they wore in the first episode.
Yeah, you're completely right. Actually,
shows like
regression.
How? Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've never looked at it that way. You're completely right. Actually, Annabelle, you're a genius sometimes. I love you.
So, yeah. Anyway, we get to ponder on that for a second.
Yeah, I'll put a tag in this as like warning. We do rant about the finale again. One day we might stop. Not today, though. Not today.
Not today. Ugh. Anyway, so like you said, they were interrupted by, I think it's the doctor that comes back in.
Yeah.
And she tells them that you have to come see this, and the streets are empty. There's nobody anywhere.
Yeah, so it shows that everyone has vanished, and then it has a close shot of the telephone pole or the telegraph pole with the word Croatoan in, and then just cuts to the next morning.
Yeah. It's weird. It doesn't really kind of make sense. Which I guess is what, like, they're linking the two, like, Roanoke and this town. I guess because they're not in a rush to go anywhere now because nobody's there.
Yeah.
That's why they come back inside instead of driving at night, maybe? I don't know. And we find out Sam's actually not infected, and neither is Tanner. So, looks like Dean didn't kill somebody who was innocent, which is great.
Great. Good for him.
Yeah. I guess that's the reason why they stayed. They wanted to, like, make sure that since they don't have to leave urgently, they could stay and watch Sam.
I mean, because there's been like a monumental shift, like everyone's done, they probably thought that something had happened. So maybe they wanted to go back and see if that had changed the situation inside. Because as far as they know, Sam's the only infected person that's about now. Mm-hmm. So had he disappeared also? You know, there's a whole little things they could have been following there.
Yeah. So actually, it's not Dwight's blood that she checks. It's actually Beverly's, and it's also clear too. It no longer has the sulfur in it.
It means though that Dean did kill those people, and they probably would have been fine, right? Later, if they just let them tied up, would it have cleared out of their system?
I don't think so. I think that they were infected, and those who were infected got dragged to hell, basically.
Yeah, I was wondering about what happened to the people, and I came up with dragged to hell also, which is troubling.
Yeah. Yeah. And so again, it's like it's the morning, and Dwight and the sergeant are gonna leave together, which I'm not entirely sure why you would leave together. Like, surely you would just kind of go your separate ways.
The Master Sergeant wants to protect him. He seems like quite a younger kid, like in his early 20s maybe, so maybe he's just making sure that he gets there safely.
Dean starts asking, like, all of the right questions.
Yeah, like, what?
Yeah. What the hell happened?
Hey, man, don't look at me. I got no clue.
I swear I'm gonna lose sleep over this one. I mean, why here? Why now? You know, where the hell did everybody go? It's not like they just friggin' melted.
Why was I immune?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. You know, I'm already starting to feel like this is the one that got away.
Like, cause they have no answers to anything that happened, like why it happened, where they went, what the infection was, or anything like that. They have no clue.
Why was Sam immune?
Why was Sam immune? Yeah.
Question.
They talk to the doctor. She says, well, she's going to go over to Sidewinder to tell them what happened if they believe her.
Yeah.
Which they probably won't, to be honest. But at the same time, you go to the house, like the town, you see all these abandoned cars, you might believe it. So we see Dwight and the sergeant are driving, and he asks him to pull over, and he says he needs to make a call, and the sergeant's like, well, the phones are still down even here, but it's not a regular phone call, it's a demon phone call. So he slices open his neck. Who do you think he's communicating with? Do you think it's Yellow Eyes or Croatoan? Do you think Croatoan is actually a demon or pestilence?
I don't think Croatoan is a demon. I think it's like some kind of spell, like portent, like some kind of, I don't know. But like, I think it's probably Yellow Eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, Croatoan's never mentioned to be an actual demon ever again. More of like it's one of the signs, right? One of the things that happens.
One of the things, yeah. Yeah, so my question is also, do you think the doctor was a demon?
Was anybody in that town actually not possessed? That's a good question. I mean, we know the Master Sergeant wasn't, to be fair.
Yeah.
Was the doctor a demon? Possibly. Maybe she stayed to like cover up what had happened, because is there any mention of this later on? Like a whole town went missing.
I don't know. Like, it'd be interesting because This is something that Ash would definitely pick up on,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if he doesn't say anything about it, then maybe. And so another reason why I think that is because she just knows so much about what's going on. I know they show like sciencey things, but it could also be a cover.
The fake science is fake science.
Right?
Right. And they just trust her because she's wearing a lab coat.
Right?
She's oh my gosh. You're right. She's a demon. She was just feeding them information. Oh, This is amazing. Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. I agree. I think she's a demon.
So, yeah, actually, Dwight is also confirmed not to be infected, which means that if you're possessed, your blood doesn't have sulfur in it, which seems weird. Like, you think it would.
Mm.
So, I'm wondering, you may be right, actually. Maybe everybody in that town was a demon.
Yeah. Apart from the sergeant.
Which makes this funny.
Yeah.
Maybe they knew that they had to have at least one person that was human, so that because it's obviously, like you said, it's obviously a trap. This whole thing was a trap.
Yeah.
We know that as well because the demon tells, I'm assuming Yellow Eyes, that the blood didn't infect. Well, okay, so maybe not. Maybe they weren't all demons. Because he tells Yellow Eyes that the blood didn't infect Sam, as expected. And he also says
the Winchester boy, which I thought was
the Winchester boy, yeah.
But he says, he says, yes, of course, nothing left behind, right? So why did he leave the doctor? Yes. Oh, cogs are turning. Because he killed the only other witness.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh. She's a demon.
She's a demon. There it is.
Wow. It kind of confirms this was a whole experiment, like a weird demonic petri dish.
Basically, yeah. It's probably like a town of like 2,000 people, so 2,000 people just gone.
Yeah, gone. I can't remember if they ever mentioned this, because they must do. It was too big an event for them not to mention it again. I mean, I think they obviously refer to it when they see this happen again. But yeah, weird. And that obviously something's going on with Sam. I mean, it makes sense that he's immune because he's immune to other special kids' powers. Yeah, so that makes sense.
And then we cut back to Sam and Dean, and they are in another scenic backdrop to do another heart-to-heart.
Yeah, they like having like real conversations with mountains in the background.
Yeah, especially in this season.
Yeah, I love it.
And so they're having a beer, but it's not in a celebration. I feel like it's just like the end of a long day, and just like screw it, we'll just have one of these. Sam's in his hippie shirt again.
I did notice, and he's in his hippie shirt talking about his feelings.
Yes. And yeah, he does. He's just like Dean tries to like blow it off, and Sam's like, "No, I'm not gonna let you."
Forget it.
No, I can't. No way.
Well, man, I thought we were both gonna die. You can't hold that over me.
No. You can't pull that crap with me, man. You're talking.
And what if I don't?
Then I guess I'll just have to keep asking until you do.
First of all, I was surprised that they were even ever bringing this up again.
Yeah.
Secondly, Dean says, "Come on, man. I thought we were both gonna die. You can't hold that over me." Which, it's why are you only allowed to say meaningful things on your deathbed in this show?
You know why. Let's be real. The example that they've been set. Come on.
Yeah, this is John's fault.
That's exactly what John did throughout the entirety of, at the end of In My Time of Dying. He told them everything that he should have told them throughout their whole lives, just before they died. So of course they're going to do the same thing. This is the only time I can express my feelings.
And then they continue it, pass it on to people they know. You know, like, say your stuff before you need to say it. Anyway.
It's more important then than on your deathbed.
Yes.
But, I mean, so Dean says,
I don't know, man. Just think maybe we ought to go to the Grand Canyon.
What?
Yeah, you know, all this driving back and forth across country. You know, I've never been to the Grand Canyon.
I like this line. Like, I just felt it in my soul because, like, I have felt like this in my life.
I just think we should take a break from all this. Why do we gotta get stuck with all the responsibility, you know? Why can't we live life a little bit?
And I was like, I feel this all the time. Like, the wanderlust of, like, I just want to drop everything in my life and just, I don't know, yeah, go to the Grand Canyon, sure, why not? Let's do that. And, like, it's escapist, and I fully get it. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is Dean's rebellion. Like, he has never had a chance to take a break. Sam got to shed his responsibility.
Yeah.
When he went to college, there's no mention of him, like, hunting while he was in college.
Yeah.
So he wasn't. He got 4 years of not hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dean has never had that. He has always been hunting since the age of, like, 6. Maybe I think he's actually, like, 10 in, like, that first flashback. So it's just like, of course Dean needs a break.
Plan a holiday. He needs a vacation. I think he's burnt out, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And understandably.
And so I think it is kind of interesting that he's burnt out now, because this is all assumption, but let's say before the beginning of season 1, he's always been with John.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's had to take on, I would say more responsibility, but it kind of is. He's had to take on the responsibility of Sam again in the beginning of season 1, because he's asked him to come back to find John. So they've spent all this time trying to look for John, so that Dean can kind of let go a little bit, but then John dies. So he has no one now. He actually has to take on, plus the responsibility of what John tells him. So it's like I would say a good 2 years at this point.
Yeah.
Of non-stop.
You're exactly right. Because, yeah, he definitely wanted to find John to kind of pass over that, like, okay, you're in charge now. You tell us what to do. And then to find yourself suddenly the, like, master of your own decisions is quite scary and terrifying. And he's never had to really do that before.
Exactly.
I do think this is something people can very much relate to in their 20s. Right?
Yeah.
When you're finding your feet and, like, you have no help and, like, you're trying to do all the things and you don't feel like an adult and, like, it's really hard, and you, like, burnout is very common. And I think this is partly why people started to vibe with Dean, because, you know, younger people are watching this show, and I think many people can relate to this of, like, yeah, this is a lot of responsibility in my life and it's too much, and, like, please, can we just go to the Grand Canyon? I'm sticking on that because, like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously this, you know, our jobs are kind of, well, most people's jobs, I mean, some people's are not generally life or death, whereas those, you know, and that's, I'm sure it's even more common in those kinds of situations.
Definitely.
Sam says, like, why are you saying all of this? Like, I guess now, like, it's also tacked onto that. Why are you saying this now?
Why are you saying all this? No, Dean. You're my brother, all right? So whatever weight you're carrying, let me help a little bit.
I can't. I promise.
Who?
Dad.
What are you talking about?
Right before Dad died, he told me something. Told me something about you.
Sam's kind of, like, tries to get him back. Like, no, like, you're my brother. Like, whatever weight you're carrying, let me help. Which is really, I loved that. Like, so it was good. And Dean says, like, he can't share it because he promised. And then he tells him, well, we don't see it in this episode.
And of course, because it's a mid-season finale, they don't reveal what it is. We don't hear that part of the conversation. It just like fades to black. It's just like, ugh.
I do have a question though. Why do you think now? Why now? After the events of this episode, why is it this thing that's triggered him telling Sam the secret?
It's got to be because of the demon blood thing, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Mm-hmm.
And like not being infected by the blood. That was clearly like he should have been, absolutely 100%. And also he like, because he told him he was tired. So I think it is also partly because of that. He is just saying like, look, I can't do it anymore.
You think he is actually sharing the burden for once? He's taking Sam's advice.
Partly, yeah. That could be it. And that might be enough for Dean.
Yeah.
To be like, because he hasn't told him anything. Like he said, he flat out denied that John had told him anything before he died.
Yeah.
And now he's revealing, actually, yeah, he did say something.
I mean, I also think like they both almost died in this episode, or at least were facing death in this episode, because they thought Sam was infected, and I guess Dean was going to go out with him. I don't know what the plan was there, actually, to be fair.
I guess maybe it was a wait and see situation.
Maybe he had his suspicions that Sam was immune or like might be special in some way because it was related to the yellow eyes. So I think you're right. I think it would have been a wait and see situation. But I think that's part of it here. Like they kind of did face that possibility. So maybe it's like, yeah, I better tell him because this almost led to like curtains.
Catastrophe, yeah.
Like Sam not knowing, right, is actually more damaging now than him knowing, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
yeah, I don't know.
It was a rough way to end an episode. It was rough.
And I can't even imagine, like, you'd have to wait 3 weeks until the next one.
I know, right? The breakdown.
Oh.
They don't call it the Hellatus for nothing. I said that before, I'm saying it again. The waiting between seasons and between the mid-seasons finale was always rough. Always rough.
Yeah, it was. It was bad.
It was bad.
Especially in later seasons when they were like active on social media and you'd like see them growing out their hair, and then then they'll come back on set and show you like transformation.
And you're like, so exciting. Yeah, I remember those days. I mean, I like this. I like this episode and the conversations that they have. I think some of the execution of this is a bit weird. There's questions to be answered that I'm not sure ever really get answered properly. Again, I said I'm not going to go back off on it, but it mostly made me mad about the finale again because it just seems so clear to me that the story should have gone a different way, even from this point. I thought it was really interesting to see Dean act this way, and like I said at the beginning, he really reminded me of End versus Dean, you know, the Dean at the end in the camp, like, you know, fighting the Croats and like trying to find Sam. And that's giving away that's giving away that episode, I guess, but like I think they used this episode as a basis for that, surely, and his character, because I can definitely see the parallels between those. The next episode is
Hunted.
Ooh.
Gordon's back.
Oh, Gordon is back.
Gordon's back.
What an interesting parallel to have after this episode. I hope it pays off. Because we know, like, Gordon is like the dark side of Dean, almost, right? And we've just seen that in this. I don't feel like this has the payoff that I feel like it has.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's not got as high a rating as the episode we just watched, which I'm kind of interested as to why that is. All right, that concludes this episode. Thank you again to the Pixel Agora for our new logo, which has been out for a few weeks now. Go follow them on Ko-fi and commission them for a piece because they are amazing. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, definitely give us a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. The episodes come out a week later, so if you want to get them at the same time, make sure you're following us on Spotify. We are everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. Just search for Escaping Purgatory podcast, and you'll probably find us. Links are also in the description, so yeah, give us a follow.
Okay, so this week we went to a drive-through and we watched kind of a bad zombie movie. And then we left. I didn't get any popcorn because I don't feel like there's popcorn machines in Purgatory, which makes me really sad.
But there are movie theaters.
There are. That's why it's Purgatory, because there's cinemas but no popcorn, which is the worst situation.
You're not wrong.
But we'll carry on, and hopefully next time we'll find our way out. Bye.
Bye.